Hello there, world of Tinkers. Welcome back to my videos. I am wot Blitz, and today we are going over another premium tank. This being the premium tank that has been out for a couple of years now. I picked up about a year and a half ago, last 2 Blitz fairs ago. But this tank is now going to be coming out in a event called Operation Independence, where you can earn it for free. Now, if you don't know what this tank is, I call it the most overpowered heavy tank in the game. This is the M6A2E1 Experimental. It's very, very, very similar to the Tier 7 M6A2E1, except this is bumped up a tier with better armor and a better gun. So speaking of the armor and the gun, I will get straight to the statistics first, and then we will go over the how to run this vehicle and the armor. So starting off, this tank has 1500 hit points, which isn't amazing. It's average for heavy tanks. That's not really its super strong point. It has a pretty good view range of 282.5 meters. This is actually better than some medium tanks. It's better than the mod one, which is kind of odd. This tank only has 1900 damage per minute, not that much at all, and that's running gunmer. I usually run calibrated, which brings your damage per minute down to 1767, but it makes your penetration go up to a whopping 260. This tank gets crazy penetration, and it still does 400 damage with that 260. APCR has 312 with 340 damage. And your HE is 66 penetration with 515 damage. So this tank has a very, very nice gun. And if you don't know, this is the exact same gun as the T-34. The only difference being that this gun has a longer reload, but it actually has a half a second better accuracy and aiming time. So I do like this gun actually better because, as you can see, it is fairly accurate. This tank is also fairly mobile. It's not what you'd call quick. It goes 29 kilometers per hour, but it does have a very good power to weight ratio, so it stays at 29 kilometers per hour. Usually, as you can see, it'll stay at around 20, 25, 30. So that is pretty good. Concealment is 3.8%. That's the worst tank I've gone over yet out of all of the tanks for concealment. So do not try and just hide this thing. You will never hide. Although this gun is very accurate, so you probably could camp with it. That's the funny thing. But I really would not suggest you to. It's not the best tank for camping. It is pretty good, but it doesn't have a great damage per minute. You know, the gun statistics, pretty much everything is worse than the T-34. It's slower than a T-34. This tank does have the same gun depression as a T-34. It has 10 degrees. And it is taller than a T-34, which actually helps you because you can look onto the tops of like an IS-3 or an IS-6's turret. You can actually aim down on the top of it and just penetrate right through that, and they will have a harder time penetrating you. And the shell velocity is 945, which is pretty good. But I will go over the very good part in this second replay. Now, every statistic on this tank is worse than the T-34. The speed, the gun is much slower reload. This tank doesn't have mobility. There's one thing that this tank has that just makes that T-34 worthless, and that is the armor. This tank has the most armor in the game for a Tier 8 heavy. This makes the VK100P look like a pile of steaming crap. Now, the armor isn't spectacular. As you can see, that RU-251 did penetrate me right in the side. However, the front of this tank will never really get penetrated. The weakest spot on this tank frontally is actually the turret. You can penetrate the cheeks of the turret next to the gun mantlet. But the hull, I'm going to pull up a little clip so you guys can see the armor. The hull is about 260 to 70 thick on the front. And you want to run that 4% armor buff because that'll make it go up about 10-15. So really you're looking at about 280 millimeters thick on the upper plate, okay? And tanks are looking up on you. So really, when they're aiming at you, they're looking at about 310 millimeters of armor thick, just on your front plate. So this IS-3 has no chance of penetrating me. And then you may be like, oh, well, just shoot the lower plate. The lower plate is actually 289 thick. The lower plate is thicker than the upper plate because of the angle, so you cannot penetrate the lower plate either. The only downfall is that the cheeks of the turret are only about 130, 200 thick. So the issue with that is when you're using your 10 degrees of gun depression, it actually helps people penetrate you because that's the weakest part of your tank. But it is so ridiculously thick in the front. You see that IS just bounced every shell he fired at me. This tank is so crazy at bouncing shells. Again, VK100B bounces right off the front. They don't even have a chance. And since this tank has such high penetration, you really don't need to worry about this. The gun is amazing. I really do like it. Now, one of the big weaknesses is that front track wheel. You can be penetrated through that front track wheel at a little bit of an angle, and it's only about 115 thick. Anything will penetrate that tier 6s can go through, and your track will be broken, and you're immobilized, you gotta repair it, and it's just a pain. Now, you cannot be aggressive towards like a charioteer, because you can see now 438 off me with a Hesh there, but he cannot penetrate the front. But the sides is the big downfall. It's 48 thick, because this tank is an M6 tier 6 hull, but it is really upgraded in the front, but it stays the same at the sides and the rear. So the rear of this tank is also about 40-50 thick. So you really can't afford to get hit anywhere else but the front. So when you're driving at people, do not even try to angle the front plate. The front plate is thick enough as it is to bounce pretty much any shell that's fired at you. Even by most tier 9s, they will have a very, very hard penetrating you. You can see we did 4,300 damage this game. We blocked, I'd say we blocked about 2,000 damage. I wasn't paying attention to the replay that much. I was pulling up the armor. But you can see the team did terrible I was with, and I was still able to carry this team. If my team had just a little bit better players and my team performed just a little bit better, I could have done 5,000, 6,000 damage that game easy, as long as the team held. And you can see 134,000 credits if I had premium on. We would have earned, 80,000 credits on a loss. This tank earns about 100,000 credits every game if you break 3,000 damage. It is a great credit earner. This is a great tank. Every single thing about this tank is awesome. If you want to get this tank in the event, you better get it, because this is the tank you want to get. This is better than an IS-3 Defender in my opinion. I would really suggest to pick this up. Even if you don't get the tank for free, buy it with gold. It is worth it. That's my opinion, though. You can tell me yours in the comments down below. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. Like the video if you did enjoy it, or downvote it if you think there was something wrong, and tell me why. Thanks. See you in the next one.